Hi, and welcome to the Tali Loz Podcast, where we discover spirituality together. And I'm very excited because Glynis is back. Hi, Glynis, how are you?
Hi, Laura. I'm very well, thanks. And you?
Good, good. Thank you. All the way from South Africa to the UK, we have the connection today. And for all the listeners, Glynis was with me on the podcast as well last year or last season, where we talked about spirit guides, spirit connections. And we were thinking the episode was it's still very popular. Like every week I still have listeners to that particular episode. So why don't we talk about how do you connect to our spirit guides? And Glennis said, let's do it. So last time we talked about spirit guides, you have a few, and you mentioned also about we all have spirit guides, right?
Yes.
Questions that we both probably received, like how do you connect with spirit guides? But also maybe it's good to understand, why do we have spirit guides? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, yes, we do all have spirit guides. And essentially, we all have one main guide who is kind of our protector guide, or, like some people will refer to that guide as your doorkeeper as well. That one spirit being that is with you generally through more than one lifetime. So they kind of work with you even before you are born, to help you to choose what it is that you're coming into this lifetime to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because, bearing in mind that everything that you do through each physical existence is to facilitate your spiritual growth.
Right.
So your guide, your main guide, knows what your contract is. They know who you have kind of signed contracts with in terms of your soul families to come in and spend this lifetime. And so they are there to help you. So connecting to them and creating that kind of connection that's there on a daily basis makes sense when you know that they are there to be able to help you along your spiritual path. So, that for me, I always kind of look at them as being your best friend, because they love you unconditionally and they have your best interests at heart.
Yes. Yeah, they know more. They can because they know your contract, they know your purpose. That's what
Yeah,
I'm getting. So they can
yeah,
help you to reach the purpose of your
yes,
life, of your soul, because we're all spirits in the end, aren't we?
absolutely.
And okay, so everybody can connect it to their guides.
Yeah,
I assume
yeah,
it takes time, it takes training. I know from our last conversation, you start with meditation.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And why is meditation so important? And how do you start to connect with your spirit guides?
Yeah, and so I mean, essentially, that is the only way that you can do it when you first start out. And the reason why is so that you can learn to quieten the thoughts in your mind. So if you think of mindfulness meditation as well, is really just connecting with your environment around you, feeling those subtle vibrations around you, and stilling the mind so that you can form that connection to the universal consciousness. And so you need to be able to raise your vibration much higher than just sort of the level that you vibrate when you interacting on a day-to-day basis with business meetings and dealing with shopkeepers and people on the road and cooking daily meals and all that kind of stuff. So it's almost like you have to set aside time to be able to quieten your mind, lift those vibrations up, and then form that connection to your spirit guide. So you can almost look at it as like building up a relationship with a new partner or a new potential partner that you've just met. You would go out to dinner and you would set aside time to ask each other questions and find out about each other and kind of see how you click, and and eventually you answering each other's sentences and finishing each other's sentences and that kind of thing. So it really is, whilst it's not a romantic relationship, it still is a building up of a relationship with somebody who it's going to be an amazing relationship because there's no judgment or there's no negativity. They don't get cross with us or anything because those emotions don't exist in the spirit world. Because it's pure unconditional love that comes to you. And, like, why not just take advantage and try and learn how to do it? And yeah, like I said, the way to do it initially is just through sitting quietly in meditation. When you get much more used to what they feel like around you, and you feel like you actually are getting messages from them every day, you don't have to specifically set aside that time because you can kind of integrate them into your day-to-day life where you're picking up things from them all the time,
Okay, yeah, because they're always around you. Yeah, it's just
yes.
because they vibrate on a higher level, being spirits. We as human form, we need to raise our vibrations to match their energy, and that's how you open the channel to them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And do spirits, do you always have to let them in, or can they also, maybe you don't notice it, but can they give messages to you even before you actively go search for them?
Yeah, and I feel like they really do, I mean, sometimes we wake up in the morning and we have like a sense of dread that something's going to go wrong, or we have a feeling like I really should phone my sister today. Like I just feel like I need to speak to her, or that kind of thing. And then you'll find that if you act on that, or you take particular care through that day, you might find that you just avoided having a motor car accident just because you were much more aware that you had this sense of something going to happen. Or you phone your sister and she says, look, I'm actually sitting in the emergency room in the hospital. I fell and cracked my hip, or that kind of thing. So our guides do influence our minds. And like we might also keep like noticing a little bird come and sit on the patio outside, or so they're trying to kind of attract our attention. So they do it, even if we haven't set that intention and we haven't formed that absolute connection yet.
And when you train yourself with meditation, are there any actually specific meditations that would be good to connect to your spirit guides? Or can it be any meditation, or what is sort of the focus or intention of the meditations to be able to connect to your spirit guides?
Yeah, and there are lots of guided meditations out there. In the course that you were mentioning, I've got 12 meditations that are specifically designed to create that connection into spirit, and you actually can go on little journeys with your spirit guide, and they can show you things and teach you things in that as well. But you can do it just quietly yourself as well, and it doesn't have to be long meditation. So in the course, I've got meditations that are like 20 or 25 minutes long. But when you start doing it yourself, all you need to do really is find a quiet space where you're not going to be interrupted. You can put some quiet music on as well, something that kind of puts you into that alpha state of mind, that state of mind like just before you're going to go to sleep, that nice and relaxed state. Work on your own body as well to relax all your muscles. So you don't want to be sitting with a pair of pants on that's got a tight belt around so that you feel like, oh, I can't breathe. So you want to be in some nice comfy clothing as well. And then, try not to eat before you do it as well, so that your body's not working on churning up food inside it, So, and make sure that you've had like plenty of water to drink so that you're feeling nice and refreshed. And then just sit and let your intention be that you're wanting to create that connection. Because your guides are around you, they will know that that's what it is that you're wanting to do. And then you start off doing it 5 minutes or 10 minutes, every day. And then when you finish, then write down what you got. Because, like my experience has shown me it over the years, like when people first start out, they might see color, or they might see like flashes, or sometimes the guides show you like it looks like you're looking through a photo album, or like photos come like flying past your eyes, kind of thing. So, and you might, like you probably don't know what that's all about, But if you write them all down, each time you do those meditations, when you go and you look at your little notes that you've made, you'll see that they keep showing me this thing. They keep, so when you kind of become aware of that, then when you're setting your intention again to go into your meditation, then say, you keep showing me the color purple. Like, elaborate on that for me. Make me feel and sense what does it mean when you're showing me purple. So, so that's how you're kind of building up a language that you can talk to them.
Yeah.
Because everything they show us is all really very symbolic, particularly when you're first starting out,
Yeah, so it's not per se that you would, because you're psychic medium, so you have a naturally open channel already with them.
Yes,
But
yeah.
someone like me who isn't, it's not per se that I would be able to see them right in front of me, that I see their whole, how they look like, to their names.
Yes,
I can talk to them as we talk right now. That's not the
yes,
case,
yes,
is it? It will
yeah,
probably start with smaller symbols. And is
yes.
it possible for everyone? It might take a long time to do see them, to do see how do they look like, or catch their
Absolutely, yeah.
name, or hear them with words. Is that possible for everyone?
Yeah, yeah. And so I always say, like, don't expect to actually hear talking in your head. I'm sure that some people actually do, but I don't. But I still, it's more like thoughts. So it's almost like they place thoughts in your mind. So like I get the sense that somebody is saying something to me, and this is what they're saying. So, and I think the biggest thing is to be able to trust that what you're getting is not something that you're just making up because you so want to hear from them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also kind of using that creative energy that you have, like using the creative side of your brain, and it's like handing that part of you over to them, to your guides, so that they can use that creativity, your imagination, to conjure up an image or a kind of a thought of what you're getting.
Yeah, because they also need to learn how to communicate with you.
Yes, absolutely. It is. I mean, it's pretty much like going to another country and trying to find a way to communicate without being able to speak the language.
Yeah.
Like if you had to go to, I don't know, say, and I'm just making an assumption, say you went to Portugal and you don't speak Portuguese, but you're wanting to find out where you can find a place to sleep, you would
Yes.
indicate, so we use a bit of body language and, that kind of thing. So, it's this very similar in terms of learning how to talk to your guide and let your guide talk to you.
Okay. And so when you get to this stage of meditation, is there sort of like an average that you'd say it would take, or is it very personal? Like for one person, it might work within 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and for the other person, it takes 5 months, or did you say, well, because with your course, for example, is it a day-to-day practice or a weekly practice? What would you say?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a very difficult question to answer because, some of us come into this lifetime equipped with those skills or, that kind of, that ability that we bring in from our previous lifetimes, or we bring it with us from spirit, that we're able to connect and communicate much easier. Some people they sit for a very long time. And I think those who struggle are those who put too much expectation and pressure on themselves. Because I think even those who think that they're struggling are connecting and are getting the messages. But because they kind of wanted to be so perfect, or they wanted to be so clear, that they miss the subtleties of getting those messages as well. So, and it's like with anything. If you wanting to learn to drive a car, if you only go out once a month and drive the car, it's going to take you a long time. If you sit every day, or you get in the car every day and you drive it, you'll learn how to drive it a lot quicker. So, I think it depends on the person themselves and how passionate they are about wanting to create that connection. and how much they believe in themselves. How much
Yes.
they actually believe that they have this capacity to do it.
Yes. Yes. It's very personal. Okay.
Yes.
So I want to connect to my spirit guides. I'll do a guided course like yours, meditation.
Yes.
Let's say I'm a few weeks in and I start to see symbols or colors or anything. Would it always be the same guide? Would it always be one guide? Or could it be different guides that are talking to you in different ways? Like how can I tell them apart?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting question as well, because we do have more than one guide with us. But I think that the main thing is for you to be able to set your intent that you are only connecting to to your one main guide. So
Okay.
initially anyway,
Hmm.
so that, you can get to feel what it feels like around them. And when I say that, like when they come to you, sometimes you may get like a whining in your ears, or your hair might stand up on your arms, or you can feel like little sort of wind around you, or you just feel something, that the vibration has changed around you, and you start to get used to that. Then you know that that's the same guide that you're connecting with. When you're much more able to connect with them, and if your intention is for you to say learn how to do healing, or learn how to do readings, it might be working with your cards, or whatever how you deliver those messages, then you can ask your guide then to invite other guides in to come and work with you. Or your guide might say, I'm here to help you to fulfill this purpose. But if this is what you're wanting to do as well, then let's bring another guide that will help you actually to be able to read the cards better, or another guide that will work with you to do your healing. So
Yes.
different guides with different skills then will come and work with you in the different things that you're wanting to learn to do.
Yeah. So, and is your spirit family always yours, or do the spirit guides also have other people they could help, like shared guides?
Yeah, and we definitely do have shared guides. And when we were talking offline, I was saying to you as well, that I have one shared guide who I love him and I claim him as mine. His name is Kevin, but
Yeah.
he really is a shared guide because he's a teaching guide, and he teaches those light workers who do similar work to me. He helps them to be able to educate those who come to see them. So people who sit in their classes, who come to them for their mediumship development. And so, yes, we do have those kind of shared guides. We also have shared guides who, like I say, our guides will bring them into our space.
Yeah.
And so if you're going through something specifically traumatic, you might have lost somebody really, really close to you, and you're battling to get through the grief of that. Our guides will bring other guides to be with you, to bring more comfort and to help you to understand, that grieving process that you're going through. And when you are able to sort of identify that there's a different energy around you. Some people say, I'm getting a new guide, and yes, you're getting a new guide, but those guides will be temporary, because they will only be with you for a short while. So then, I've spoken to lots of people then who say, oh, my guides are cross with me, they've left me and gone. They're actually not. They've just fulfilled what it is that they came into your space to work with you and to do with you, and then they've gone off to go and do the same thing with somebody else.
Okay, so it's their guiding purpose for you to be with
Yes,
you an X amount of time, and if that purpose is fulfilled, they move on
they'll move on.
to
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
else as well. Yeah. Do the spirit guides, when you've established the connection, do they always connect in the same way? So your spirit guide would always have, for example, symbols and colors and numbers. Or would it also be, it could change, so they all of a sudden do bring you images? Or do you see what I'm getting at? Like, do they have one
Yes,
language, or they've got multiple languages?
yeah, no, I do think I understand your question. So it is an evolution, that connection. And as it kind of becomes stronger, it's almost like you understand and you can talk to each other kind of telepathically. Yes. So that, you know, you do get to a point where you are receiving information from them, where you don't have to get it when you're sitting in meditation, and it doesn't have to be just through some, you know, just some random number that you see or that kind of thing, you know. So it might be, so for me, a lot of it is I get a lot more thoughts in my head that I know are not my thoughts. And those thoughts then is my guide talking to me. Right. So you see, so sort of as you strengthen that connection and you become more used to working with each other, you know, that need for just things to be shown to you just symbolically kind of changes, and it's really not necessary anymore. Yes. You know, and sometimes they will still use those kind of symbols if they are working with you to do a reading. Okay. So that you can then be picking up what it is that they're wanting to say to the person that you're doing a reading for. So sometimes those kind of symbols sort of still stay there. And by that, I mean, so if I'm connecting with my guide to do a reading, she will always come and she's always dressed in a specific way. So I will always see her dressed in the same. So, you know, she is a traditional healer from the Maasai tribe. So she wears beautiful red, blue and purple colors. Yes. So she will always be dressed like that, and she will always have beads on her head, and she will always sit at my right foot. So she always sits on the floor next to me on the right hand side of me. And we go through a reading, I will just talk to somebody, and as I'm talking, so she's starting to influence my mind of what it is that's necessary for the sitter. So if my sitter's mother is coming to then make connection with them, I might not initially see the mother. My guide will show me a picture of my own mother. So I will see my mother, who has absolutely nothing to do with the reading, but I will know that she's bringing through this lady's mother, or the sitter's mother. You know, so there's still that bit of sort of symbolic messaging that comes through, but I understand, because of my working with her, I understand what it is that she means. Like she's saying, okay, mom is here. And then as soon as I say to my sitter, your mom is here, then my mother will kind of disappear, or the picture of my mother will disappear, and I will start to get an impression in my mind of what my sitter's mother looks like. Okay, so it's like interpretation. Yeah, so because it works for me, it makes it easier for me. Yes. You know, instead of me just feeling this is kind of like another energy and trying to figure out and work out like who she is, you know, I'll know straight away who it is that's coming through. Yes, I see. Yeah, because we when we talked in the first episode of the last season, you and I, we were talking about your guides, two guides, and they are not related. But could it be? So if, for example, your parents pass over, or brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, grandparents, would they always be with you as a guide, or in a different form of spirit? Yes, and so I think that, you know, if I can give you my understanding of what our spirit guides are, they are very evolved spirit beings. So if, say, you know, your mother had led her last life on this earth, and she had evolved to a point where she no longer has to come back and have a physical existence because she is completely spiritually evolved, then there's no reason why she couldn't come back and be your spirit guide. But our loved ones, when they pass into spirit, spend a lot of time with us still. You know, particularly with those bonds of love were just so great whilst they were here on the earth. And they do still work to help us to help to kind of make things happen in our lives, to influence us in that job interview, so that we can put our best side forward and actually get the job. You know, they will still influence our thoughts. If we have an argument with one of our siblings, they will come through and kind of say, you know, let's see how we can work through this. And I
Yes.
think because the connection, the love connection to our loved ones in spirit is so strong, and we pick it up, that it can be misinterpreted that our loved one is actually our spirit guide. Where they're not. They're just somebody that we loved so intensely and still loves us so intensely that they're still very much involved in our lives. And I love that happens. I think it's amazing that it happens, and that people can pick that up as even better. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I always have a feeling that my grandpa from my mum's side is
Yes,
around me, and
yes,
even though he wasn't, but as far as no, he wasn't like very spiritual or anything like that. But for some reason, I just have that feeling, and I've always had that.
yes.
But I'm not sure if it's true. He could talk to birds, like he could do all the whistle. Like, we hear your birds in the background as well. Oh, I think they're outside, aren't they? But
They are for 2 cages here of birds in there.
But my grandpa could do all the whistles of the different birds. So if he started to whistle, like the bird would always talk back with him, like physically, you could hear
I
it. He was
love
very good at
that.
it.
Yes,
And often when I'm around or I do meditation outside or whatever, there's always at least one or two robins.
yes.
And I always think that's my grandpa sort of talking to me. Not that he is the bird, but I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's
So there
this
is that
feeling.
connection, because the
Yeah.
way he wants to be able to make his presence known to you, because you understand that he had the love for the birds and was able to do that with the birds, he can still influence that little bird to be around you and, to give a little chirp here, because he's probably in spirit whistling to the little bird and the bird's answering him. And you
Yeah.
kind of picking up, and you're
Yeah.
picking up on that energy of his as well. So I have
Yes.
absolutely no doubt that that's how he communicates with you.
I think I've always had that feeling. Yeah, there's many enough, like on my mum's side, a few stories about particular robins. For some reason, always robins that they
Yes.
sit. I think it was the same the day he passed away. There was this robin at my auntie's house. All of a sudden, it didn't leave for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
It's very, and
Okay.
just sit there and just look at her every morning. She was there, or he or she was there, and it's for some reason it just stick to in our family. It was very, very beautiful. Obviously, all made the connection. That's like, oh, that's grandpa.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very
And
beautiful.
you mustn't fob it off and think, I'm just thinking that, I just think because I wanted so much to be like that.
Yeah,
I had a lady come to see me for a reading the other day who just recently lost somebody very, very close to her. And since that person's passing, she finds 10-cent pieces. So everywhere she goes, she finds a 10-cent piece. So it's not coincidence.
no,
They definitely can do that kind of thing as well.
yes, yeah. It's a sign, isn't it? It's like I've always
Yeah.
believed that to be the case. It's very interesting. Yeah, so I think we did talk about it in the our first episode that we are all spirit. Obviously, we in a human form, but we spirit, and you have a
Yes.
purpose. And when you fulfill the purpose on Earth, then you are able to become a guide
Yes.
as well, or you stay in the spirit world. We talked about it in our first episode.
Yes.
But do spirit guides also evolve? Can they become like archangels? Do they have levels of being stronger or as
And
well?
I think that they do. And so because then if you look at our purpose of being in the physical existence is for the evolution of our soul, then the purpose of being a spirit guide is to continue with that evolution of your soul as well. So I definitely do think that the guides can move away from taking responsibility for somebody's life and move up into the higher realms of spirit.
Of spirits as well,
I definitely do believe that does happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and they will be like the interpreters between the creator and the
Yeah,
spirits.
absolutely. And work much closer with the lords of karma and whatever it is that happens at that level, I'm not 100% sure.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like different levels of being spirit.
absolutely. Yeah.
Are there
Mhm.
any other tools that we can use to connect with the guides? Like, I know crystals can enhance spirit connections, for example,
Yes.
but you also have like tarot cards or pendulums. Would that help as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And some people start out using them and continue through, because learning to connect with your guide is not necessarily so that you can do readings for anybody else.
Yes.
It's more so that you can do it for your own personal self. So if you go and if you feel like you should go and buy a set of tarot cards or a set of angel cards or a set of oracle cards, get yourself some runes, get a pendulum, whatever it is that you feel can help you to form that connection and can help you to get the messages and interpret what it is that the guides are saying to you. You can use a combination as well. You can use the pendulum and then ask them to back it up with some cards from the tarot deck as well.
Yes.
So, bearing in mind that you're wanting to connect to your spirit guide so that you can keep yourself as close as possible to your purpose in this lifetime, to what it is that you are wanting to, needing to work through in this spiritual lifetime. So when you have, challenges, and we face challenges every single day, no matter what those are, and we're wanting to connect to our guides to get messages, then use those tools. Use the cards, draw 5 cards and see what the cards say. And if it is that you don't know what they mean, you can either let the guides kind of make your own kind of interpretation of what that is, or if you need the backup, there's lots of information online. You can go and see what does the 7 of Wands actually mean, or what does the Empress represent, if you're doing the tarot cards. And then, just sort of keep it to just like a week. Say, I'm asking the guide just to help me through this week, show me what I should be focusing on, what I'm working through just this week. I want these specific answers. You can do it with the pendulum as well, and just like, am I on the right track? Should I be continuing with this argument with this guy next door? Or, what should I be doing? And then hold the pendulum, the guides will say, yes, actually, finish it, or no, like end it off, whatever. So you can use those tools.
Yes.
Having crystals around us brings amazing energy as well. They also help to cleanse the space.
Yes.
So, we have to try to do as much as possible as we can, bearing in mind that our main aim is to raise our vibrations to form that connection.
Yes.
So if you want to use, some incense to smudge, or you want to use a smudging stick to smudge your area where you actually doing your meditation, a good idea is also to always try and do your meditation in the same place and at the same time every day.
Okay.
So that you have those same kind of energies around you as well. And it also sort of disciplines your mind that, okay, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon is my meditation time. So I'm going to go into my space, I'll smudge, I'll make sure that the energy is nice and clear. You can use salts. You can, put some salt into the salt crystals.
Yes.
Like the Himalayan salt in that. Put that into some boiled water and then sprinkle it around your area as well, just to cleanse that space. All those things just to help to be able to bring the energy in. If you can use a candle, you can, the candle helps you then to be able to keep focused. So you don't have to always meditate with your eyes closed. You can meditate with your eyes open as well. Yeah. Keep your eyes focused on the flame. And you'll see that sometimes the guides will acknowledge their presence by making the flame get much bigger, flicker, get smaller. They might blow it out, so you can work like that as well.
Okay.
So if you get all that kind of confirmation that they're around you.
Yes.
And then you build up from there, so that you start asking them to give you a name. And if a name never ever comes, give them a name, because you're the one that needs the name for them, really. you know. So if you don't ever get the name, give them a name, call them something, you know,
right.
anything. They really don't mind, you know.
Yes.
They're not like us. They don't think like us.
No,
you know.
no. So there's many tools you can open up the channels, really. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always say, like, when I'm going for a run, I like to run. That's like my meditation. I often feel like I'm going deeper than
Yes,
sitting or lying down as a meditation. So that could
yes,
also
yeah.
be a channel. I often get most of my ideas when I'm running. So for some reason.
And yeah, very much so. So that's a beautiful way for you to get into that zone, that like meditative state, and where you are opening up and allowing the information to come through. Some people can do it in the shower or in the bath.
Yes.
You know, because the water also helps with the energy. That's all that like cleansing as well, and keeping your aura nice and cleaned out, and you know. So just that sort of quiet solitude in the shower, it's a brilliant time for you to be able to get, you know, messages. You don't have to worry about the fat rolls and things. The guides don't look good.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, there's many ways, but it sounds like meditation, or at least working on raising vibrations, is the number one technique of
Yes,
how to
absolutely.
connect.
Yes.
And how does it look like? I mentioned before, you have courses that help people, that guide people to connect to their spirit guides.
Yes.
Take us through the techniques and the course. How would it look like, or how does it look like?
Okay, so the way I've structured it is it works over 12 weeks, but you don't have to do it over 12 weeks. You can do it as quickly as you want to, or you can take 12 months to do it. So there's 12 modules, if you want to call it that rather, and they consist of 2 videos each. So one of the videos is instruction and information. So there's lots of information. And the information is a lot about what we've been talking about. A lot of it is the spirit realm and the main purpose of angels, and you know, that hierarchy and how that all works, and the different rays that dominate the earth and all that. So there's quite a lot of information across those 12 modules. And then the second video is a meditation that was given to me by my guides, that's inspired by my guides. And it kind of links into the information that was given that day. So if we're talking about, you know, what does the spirit world look like? You know, then that meditation is actually your guide coming to meet you and taking you on a journey through the spirit world so that you can actually see it within the meditation.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, the one is you know, where you make that absolute connection to your guide as well. And so it's guided through that meditation for you to get that aha moment of connecting to your guide. There's one that allows you, it's called sitting in the seat of love. So it allows you to sit in a space where you can kind of say your last goodbyes to your loved ones, if that was something that never happened when they were here, or you can just see them and say, you know, I miss you and I love you, or whatever you would say to, you know, your loved one in spirit if you had the opportunity to see them. So, and then it kind of moves over into the last 2 are very much showing you more and more how you can just live your life connected to your guide, and what that looks like, and how to be able to do it.
Yes, so that's what you mentioned earlier, that you don't have to meditate anymore, because you've established such a strong connection. You can just cook or walk and then still connect to your spirit guides. That we can all reach that level, basically.
Most definitely. And you know, it really is kind of changing your outlook on your own life as well, and how you live your life. And inviting your spirit guide into your life as your best friend. So somebody that you enjoy spending 24 hours a day with, you know. They don't have to be in your space all the time. You can block them out, you know, and we do block them out when we're focused on something that's, you know, specific that we're busy doing. But sometimes, like if we're out, like say you're running and you're focused on that running, that's then the perfect opportunity to make that connection as well.
Oh, it sounds so beautiful.
Yeah.
And like we talked in our first episode, we do both recommend to listen to that one as well, because we talk also about, like, I ask questions, if you can call in, maybe like the darker forces or everything. So if you have any questions like that, please go to
Yes,
our very first podcast, because there's a lot more that we explain in that one.
yes.
And yeah, I highly recommend. I'll put your website obviously also in the description, so people
Thank
can
you, Laura.
contact
Yes,
you.
thank you.
And also during the course, people can always contact you, or even not necessarily during the course, every time as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm available. So if you do decide to do it, you'll see that at the end of each module I say, let me know what you got in your meditation so that I can help you to interpret it, especially initially as well, So, and I'm always available, and I don't charge for everything that, people will phone me up and ask me a question or pop me a WhatsApp or something like that. I mean, I don't charge for that,
Yeah.
Specifically, if you are busy working through the course, then it's an added bonus. You can contact me. I might not be available straight away to give you the answer, because I might be doing a reading, or I might be at the shop, or we might have a different time zone.
Yeah.
But I will definitely always get back within 24 hours.
Yes.
So I'm always available.
Beautiful, Glynis. Thank you so much
Okay.
for your time again and your explanation on this complex matter.
Thank you so much for this opportunity for me as well.
You're
I
welcome.
do appreciate it.
Yeah, I learn so much every time. So thank you so much. Thank you, Glynis. Bye-bye.
Go and look after yourself. Thanks so much, Laura.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.